I'm so sorry. Apologies. Um, that's stakeholders management. My stakeholders want more of my attentions. Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right, please. Uh, forgive me. All right. So, I was mentioning that the purpose of this, just a little recap, is based on for those that just joined us. All right. I was actually saying that the concept behind the project resource management is actually based on your understanding as a project manager to ensure that you are dealing with the right set of people for your project and assigning roles and responsibility to those set of people for completing the project as a whole. And that is key when it comes to what project resource management. And I also mentioned for the purpose of exam that the word human resource management is not valid anymore as it relates to your exam. So if you come across it among all your options, please just know that the human resource management concept or the word human resource is not valid in your exam. Okay, so that is clear. So we've also looked at the various type of project resource, the material, the equipment, and the human. All right. So you will see on the screen that we have about 6 project management processes that we will have to follow to be able to achieve project resource management. And that then you have 3 processes that are executing. Please, project resource management is very important for your exam. Please, I will need you to try your best to understand the concept. Why do I need to understand the concept? Because under project resource management, you will discover that this is the aspect where your people skills will be tested. Your ability to lead, your ability to implement, your ability to resolve conflict, your ability to work with a team. Because you remember that we discussed some time ago that it is not the project manager that performs the work, but actually the team. How do you build a team? All these are the things that we are going to discuss as it relates to project resource management. So that is why I mentioned earlier that project resource management is about having to identify the team, creating roles and responsibility for those team members, and ensuring that they follow those roles and responsibility in completing the project. So that is very important. So you can see on the screen that we have um, plan resource management under the planning process group, estimate activity resources under the planning process group. Then you can also see acquire resources, develop team, manage team under executing, and lastly, control resources under monitoring and control. What are we talking about? What is the actual meaning when we refer to plan resource management? In your planning process for your resources, it is actually that process where you first and foremost identify the roles and responsibility for the team. Excuse me, sir, do I need to get the team first before I identify the roles and responsibility? Which one come first? Okay, let me throw that question out. Which one come first? Yes, Lola, which one do you think comes first? Should I get the team members first before identifying the roles and responsibility? Which one do you think comes first?
You have to understand what the roles are to know who you would hire for those roles.
Exactly. So that is why you can see that under the planned resource management, your first point of work or your assignment or your task as a project manager is to first and foremost identify and document the project roles, responsibilities, the skills you need, and every other thing that you need before getting the team member that will work or suit that role. So that is why when we talk about resource management, we said that it is the concept is about what creating roles or assigning roles and responsibility to your team members. Who does this identification? The project manager. Is it possible for the project manager to relate with the functional manager? In this context, remember we are looking at organization. Remember I told you an assumption that in your exam or in your whatever material you are studying, when they make reference to the word organization, indirectly they are making reference to a matrix organization setting, except otherwise stated in the question that is not a matrix organization. And what that implies is that in a matrix organization setting, the project manager works directly with the functional manager. All right. So in this case, it is possible that the project manager works with the functional manager to even identify more roles and responsibility. But my point here is that the project manager must clearly identify the roles and responsibility of everyone that will be working on the project, including management. What role is the MD playing in this project, and what is his responsibility? What role is the CTO playing in this project, and what is his responsibility? What role am I playing in this project, and what is my responsibility? What role is the functional manager playing in this project, and what is his responsibility? Please take note. I mentioned earlier that this aspect of your project is physical to you as a project manager because it's executive, which means effort will be taken to achieve this. And that is why each of those roles will be identified by you first. You must identify those roles and document it. The project manager, the sponsor, the functional manager, and all the key stakeholders in that project. What roles are they playing on the project? That is what we do under the plan resource management. So under the plan resource management, you identify those roles and document them down. And that becomes, it establishes the project roles and responsibility and shows how you are going to be able to acquire staff and let your staff go. Now, let's now look at what we want to achieve when we plan resource management. What we want to achieve when we plan resource management is actually what? The resource management plan. One, what else again do we need to achieve when we plan resource management is to have what we refer to as the team charter. What is a team charter? We'll look at it as we go on so that I won't jump the process. All right. So the resource management plan is very important for every one of us as a project manager. Now, let's look at some of the tools and techniques that you as a project manager that you can use to identify and define the roles and responsibility of all the people you are bringing on board. So you can see what refers to as organizational charts. All right, we have different tools that can be used to identify or define the roles and responsibility of everyone that will be working on that project. So these roles can be classified in three different ways. All right, so we have the first one, which is the organizational chart. We have the second one, which is the responsibility chart, and we have the third one, which is the test-oriented chart. All right. So these are the three different formats that can be used to identify that roles and responsibility, or not necessarily identify that roles and responsibility, to be able to clearly state that roles and responsibility for all team members to understand. It is very key. So we're going to look at them one after the other. Organizational chart. Organizational chart, as it sounds, it shows the hierarchical structures in the organization. With this hierarchical structure, you can easily tell what role the PMO is playing, what role the program manager will play, what role the project managers are playing, what role every team members are playing. Why? Because of what? The organizational chart. It shows the organogram, the hierarchical structure of every member that will be working on the project. That is the first format, to be able to clearly state your roles and responsibility. Then the second format is the matrix-based chart. Under the matrix-based chart, we can look at it from two different categories. So the matrix-based chart have two different categories. The first category, which is referred to as RAM, is to graphically display the responsibility and the type of resources. So this RAM, what did it do? It is used to show or display the type of resources and the responsibility. All right, that is one aspect. Then you also have the second category, which is RACI, the RACI chart. The RACI chart shows. All right, now take note. Excuse me, sir. What is the difference? Just quick, sharp contrast. Take note. The RACI chart most often is like is often used in a departmental base. The RAM is used on an individual base. Alright, please take note of that sharp contrast. Alright, and also take note, the RAM does not provide time frame for performing the task. So in a RAM, it is practically impossible for you to know when will the job be done. Alright, when are we going to do the job? But it only just show the resources and the responsibility, but it does not show the time that that particular job will be done. Take note of that simple contrast. Now, what is the meaning of this acronym RACI? RACI, as you can see, arrow word responsibility. A represent accountable, C represent consult, then I represent inform. Now, what does it mean to be responsible? The person that is going to perform the work. That is, it can be a person or a department. That's one. Accountable. What do you mean by being accountable? Accountable in this context is the person who approves or sign off when the work is completed. Who is going to verify or validate that, oh, Lola has actually completed that work and is good to go. That person becomes accountable. Consult. Who am I going to discuss with as a result of what I want to do to get more information or input? That is consult. All right. Then inform in this context is, who am I going to tell when I am done with my project? That becomes inform. So now you see that, like I mentioned earlier, the RACI chart is more likely to be used to assign roles and responsibility in a larger organization where you have several departments or several team members. It's easy, and the workflow process also is easy. So let's look at them one after the other. You can see this chart. You will see that P represents primary responsibility, S represents secondary responsibility. So if you look at this chart, you see that, oh, look at all the activities. Develop monthly reports. Who is responsible? Charity. But now, who can second when charity is not available? Funke or Cordelia. All right, that is the concept. But now, you will see this chart now. You discover that it did not tell us the time all this will be done. There is no time frame attached to it. All right, that is the concept of the responsibility assignment matrix. It is actually used to assign roles and responsibility to your team members. Okay, then the next one, the RACI chart, you can see, as we have on the screen, you can see the series of activity: brand awareness, CROM software development. It could be anything. Let's say we are doing building foundation now, or we are doing building project now. You can see all the activities that you need to do. You write all of them out, especially from that activity list that you have created when we're defining activity. You can still remember under scoping. So from those activities, you can easily assign roles and responsibility. So you can say, oh, this one now simply means that brand awareness, corporate corporate development is responsible. So it is their major task to perform brand awareness. Who is going to sign off when they are done with that task? The same corporate development. But now, who will they discuss with to get more input, get more value added information to what they need to do? They will have to discuss with HRO. Now, when they are totally done, who are they going to inform? They will inform management that they have completed the brand awareness. So also the CRM software development. Who is going to be responsible for performing that task? The IT department. When that task has been completed, who is going to sign off and approve or validate that that task has been done the way is expected? The same IT department. Who will IT department discuss with to get more input on what they need to do? They will discuss with corporate development and the inform management. This is actually practical. It helps you to organize your resource management for your team. So we have discussed about using the organizational chart, which is hierarchical. Then we have discussed using the matrix-based chart, and we considered the RAM, and we have considered the RACI. Now, the third one is the test-oriented format to clearly assign roles and responsibility. The reason why it is test-oriented format is actually because it has a lot of detailed record to show. It is more explanatory. It has a lot of description. I don't know, like I often say, for some of us that have come across a job ad, in a job ad, you will see that in that job ad, they will categorically state the type of job, the position, the the type of contract, and they will tell you probably the role you are applying for, and they will not give you like 1001 responsibility. The one that makes sense, that did not make sense, they will load it there, and you now be scrolling down to read more responsibility. That is because it is they use what the test oriented format. So there can be a test oriented format to clearly state the roles and responsibility of your team members. You can use the matrix based format, or you use the hierarchical format. Hello Godwin, are you there? Hello Godwin, are you there? Hello Godwin, are you there? Can you hear me? You're not following well. I don't understand. What do you mean? Oh, you are feeling headache. Is that what you said? All right. Okay. So let's move on. Now, under tools and technique. Under tools and technique, there's what we refer to as organizational theory. The question is, excuse me, sir, you are discussing about assigning roles and responsibility. How does that now, why are you bringing organizational theory into it? Yes, it is very important for you to know why the team members you are bringing together understand why they should behave the way they behaves. What are the explanation you have on your team members in respect to how they behave? What can answer that question is organizational theory. Because there have been several theories that have helped to explain what makes people, what make your team members or that departmental unit you have with people, why do behave the way they are behaving? Why are they working the way they are working? There are several answers you can get because research has been done and concluded on such behaviors. So that is why we are going to look at some organizational theory so that you as a project manager must be aware that there are some basic behaviors that you must take note of. And such we have the Maslow hierarchy of needs, the Hansberg hygiene theory, and several other theories that we are going to look at. So we just pick a few and talk about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Now, take note of this Maslow hierarchy of needs. I want you to take note of it in terms of the hierarchy. All right. So this is level 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. Please know it in this order. It is very important. Know them in that order because you may come across questions that may look very tricky. Okay, so please try your best to understand it in this particular order. And also, while you are understanding it in that particular order, also understand or take note of what you have in each of those order. Example, the Maslow hierarchy of need came into existence to explain and why and what can make people to be motivated. It came into existence to explain, or better still, the message behind the Maslow hierarchy of need is that people are not mostly motivated to work by money or security. Instead, the highest level of motivation is for some people to contribute and use their skill. And that is the concept of self-actualization. And that is the message of the Maslow hierarchy of needs. So if you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, starting from the base, even in our own personal life, you may have experienced it too, that once upon a time, all you worry and care about were just physiological needs. And physiological needs in this context were just those things you need: the food, the water, that shelter, that clothes. You don't mind anywhere you sleep. You don't mind how dirty the place is. As long as that sleep is disturbing you, you can just lay your head there and sleep off, and you are good to go. Because as at that time in your life, that was what you needed. We call it the physiological need, the basic need of life. So you now discover that with time, that need will no longer be satisfying. you want to grow to the next stage, which is the need for safety and security. So we refer to that second stage as the safety needs. And in this context of safety need, that is when you now be thinking of stability. That's when you now be thinking of freedom from harm. That's when you be thinking of security, even in terms of employment. All right. You now discover that, oh, before you can wake up 4 o'clock and enter road that you are going to VI to work. But a time comes, you now get to a stage, you now say, God forbid, I can't enter road anymore 4 o'clock. Why? Because you are considering security. Because then you didn't mind, but now you now mind. What now makes the difference is because you have grown from that physiological needs level to your safety and security needs level. That's when you think of safety, securing a very good employment. That's when you think of having a very secured property, having a stable home, and all that. Then a time also come that that will no longer satisfy you. That all that you need is an affection. We refer to it as social needs. All right. Take note. It can be this number three can be referred to as social needs or affection needs. In case you did not see love and belongingness. All right. So it can also be referred to as social needs or affection needs. So this is the stage where you are now more take you are, all you focus on is love. You want affection. You want to keep good friends. You want to be involved in some associations. You want to become intimate. All right? That is what the social need. You want to join some club. That is the social need. You want to belong. You want to associate yourself with some set of people. All right? You are trying to build class for yourself. That is because of the social need. Then a time now comes that you grow beyond that social need, you get to where we refer to as self-esteem needs. The self-esteem need is that aspect where you now grow to become like a manager. Oh, you now head an organization. Now self-esteem now comes in, where you feel that you have accomplished. The need for respect, the need for attention, the need for appreciation. This is the stage where you want, because you have achieved, you need respect. You need respect from others. You need respect based on your position. You are more connected. That becomes what? Your self-esteem need. Then a time comes whereby you are no longer satisfied with that position of being the head or the manager. You are now looking at fulfilling purpose. That becomes what? Self-actualization need. That it is because there are some set of people, I don't know if it has happened to you or you have discovered that, for instance, now you work in a field that you really do not like. And in that field that you really did not like, you have grown to become a manager, but you are not satisfied. You are not happy. All right. But you are a manager, you are earning big, but you are not satisfied. Everybody greets you, respects you, but you are the head. At least you should be happy because you are making big money. But you now discover that in between the line you are not satisfied. Why are you not satisfied? Because of the what to refer to as the self-actualization need. Then you now decide that, okay, I don't let me do this because this is what will actually make me to be fulfilled. So that is where the self-actualization comes, which talks about self-fulfillment, where you experience growth and learning, where creativity comes in. All right, fulfilling purpose and having expressing your inner potentials. That becomes your self actualization or self fulfillment needs. So these are the Maslow hierarchy of needs. All right, please, for the purpose of exam, take note of this hierarchy. What is the first item, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth? is very important for the exam. Then you look at also some theories, the Hobsbawm theory of motivation. You discover that what this guy is letting us know is that there is something we refer to as a motivating agent. If those motivating agents are not available, it is most likely to demotivate you the more. That is Hobsbawm theory of motivation. In a simple English, Hobsbawm theory of motivation is actually letting us know that money is not enough to motivate your team members. Money is not enough to motivate your team members. Now, Hobsbawm theory of need divide the concept into hygiene factor and motivating factors. Hygiene factors in this context is simply saying that hygiene factors in this context, alright, let me explain it this way. The fact that you don't have television or AC in your office, alright, to a large extent may have one or two impacts in demotivating you. You don't have AC in your office, you don't have maybe television in your office, you don't have screen, or maybe you don't have system. That becomes an hygiene factor. So an hygiene factor destroy motivation. It destroy motivation. So the concept of hygiene factor are those factors in the organization that if they are not present, it demotivates you the more. But if they are present, it's not like it's motivating you. But because they are not present at all, it goes a long way to demotivate you. Example, like I mentioned, you don't have AC in your office. Does it motivate you? No. But because you don't have AC in your office, it can also go a long way to demotivate you. We refer to it as what? Hygiene factor. The family life, job security, the working condition, the environment, the relationship you have in your office. Its presence does not motivate. Oh, they pay, the relationship is hostile. It doesn't motivate you. It doesn't make you happy. You want to go to work the next day, you are not happy. It doesn't motivate you to do anything. They call them hygiene factor. But if it is not there, it goes a long way to demotivate you the more. Then we also have motivating factor. Motivating factor is that are those items that its presence motivates you the more. And that concept is that we refer to it as what? The motivating agent, which says that what motivates people is the work itself that they are performing, not the salary. What motivates people are the work itself that they are performing and not the salary. So these are the concept of the Hobsbawm theory of need. And that is why you see that the first motivating agent is the challenge. That's when you see somebody who is like you see somebody, like for instance now in a bank, in the banking system for example, you see somebody whose status is executive executive maybe executive assistant, but is acting or performing the job of a cash officer, or is performing the job of an auditor. You see that his status in the bank is that of an executive officer, but he's solving the challenges of an auditor in the organization. So you see that the nature of work being done is what motivates him. The quality of work that is responsible is what motivates him. So all those things becomes what? The motivating factor. Alright. Then the third one I will also talk about is the McGregor's theory S and Y. The McGregor theory S and Y concept is very simple, which says that it is possible. Theory S says that yes, it is possible you have some set of people in your team that are unambitious. They are not motivated at all and they don't like to work. And they are now saying that, oh, if you have such set of people in your team, how do you manage them to get results? The McGregor theory S is saying that such kind of people in your team, what you do is that you need to constantly monitor them. And that management style is what we refer to as what? Micromanagement. And the concept of micromanagement is putting people under pressure to get work done. That is the carrot and stick approach. Alright? Now, that concept of theory S, I don't know if you have experienced it also, maybe in the work environment you find yourself, or the management style you are experiencing, that you discover that you find yourself in an organization, they put more pressure, they are constantly monitoring you, you are pressing your phone, somebody come and meet you and tell you that, why are you pressing your phone? You're supposed to be working. You are standing, you say, oh, why are you standing? You're supposed to be sitting. You are sitting, you say, why are you sitting? You're supposed to be standing. That is the concept of McGregor theory S. Why the McGregor theory Y assumes that, oh, people that you have in your team, they are ready to work. They have ambition. They are all they just need is an opportunity to work. Then McGregor theory Y says that such set of people, give them more work to do. Why? Because in such case they don't need constant monitoring and control. So McGregor theory S is for people that are lazy, and the solution is that you constantly monitor them, which is micromanagement. McGregor theory Y is that concept that, oh, you have people in your team that are very eager to work, and because they are eager to work, give them more work to do and don't disturb them. So now, this will help us understand why some of our team members and how we can take advantage of such team members. If you have any team member that don't like work or he doesn't want to complete task at the agreed timeline, then you will not either know to use McGregor theory S or McGregor theory Y. Excuse me, sir, is there anyone that is the best between theory S and Y? No one is the best. It depends on the situation you are working on. Is that clear, please? All right. Yes, please go on, please. No, no. McGregor theory Y is that those team members or set of people in your team, they are ambitious in nature, they are motivated by themselves, self-motivation now to work to achieve results. All right. And we are saying that if you have those set of people in your team that are not lazy, they come to you and say, okay, so what else do you want me to do now? All right. Those set of people, the approach you as the project manager to use is to give them more tasks. And that is what motivates them. Give them more challenging work to do. That is what keep them going. And that is the management concept behind theory Y. But if you find yourself that you have a team, because remember, you're not the one paying them. Most likely, you cannot chase them away. You now have a team that, oh, you have, like for instance, I have in my team, I have one front end developer that always give excuse. All right, he will give you 1001 excuse. All right, he will tell you, he will always have reason why he did not finish the task. So in such approach, what do? I micromanage him. All right, I fix impromptu meeting just to be able to checkmate the nature of work he has done. Do you get now? Why? Because he's not the only one in my team, but he's the only one that have that kind of nature. But why others? I know they will deliver at the agreed time. At the agreed time, before the agreed time, they send you report on what they have done. But I have such person in my team that will sit down and give you reason and say, "Oh, I'm working on it, I'm working on it." When you check him, he's pressing his phone, he's checking videos on YouTube, he's chatting. Alpha, where is the update? I'm working on it, I'm working on it. So in such case, it's either you use McGregor theory, yes. So that is why I answered that question that no one is better than the other. It depends on the situation. Yes, go on. Can, can you speak up? Let people hear you well, please. All right, go on. Can you all hear him now? Very well. Oh, okay. It depends on how you view it. All right. Like the concept is, it depends on your decision. You have in your team those that want to work and those that don't want to work. Now, God help you that you have three, four members of your team that don't like finishing tasks at the agreed time. How do you survive that? But now, if you look at theory Y, which are those that are ambitious. Now, remember the work they are doing, they like to work. Like now, in your own environment, which is in the construction, let's say, oh, because they like to work, they will not do everybody's. It's not possible they will do every other person's work. But the point now is that because they like to work, you give them the work that they need to do. So, if for instance you have a series of activities that that particular person will perform to complete the task, all right, it becomes a credit to that resources, because why? You know that that person can deliver, and in this our dispensation, that is where you get recommendation. So if for instance I'm assigned roles and I say, oh, because Wale is the lazy one and he always have his way around it, let me behave with you, are always shortchanging yourself. All right. So it now depends on how you perceive it. Now, the resource management plan, you will see that at the end of the day, on all your documentation, your roles and responsibility for every team member is very key and important. All right. The policies for your reward and recognition is important. The training and development requirement is important. The organizational limitation and risk must be stated clearly. All right, and all the necessary informations. All right, please take note. What is a resource calendar? A resource calendar, in a simple word, is that calendar that shows the availability of your resources. Alright? So which means it can be the availability of a team member or the availability of the material to be used or equipment. So a resource calendar is, it shows what? The availability of your resources. Alright? So please take note. So that is also very key as we talk about plan resources. Now, that being said, I also mentioned that what will be achieved apart from the resource management plan is also what we refer to as the team charter. What is a team charter? And how do we come about a team charter? And how is it important to the project or to the team as a whole? Now, the team charter is like a team value, is the ground rules, is that norms, the acceptable behaviors that the team agree to abide with in fulfillment of that project. Now, you are bringing a team together. Please take note. Having a team charter solve more than 80% of conflict issues that may arise in the project. And that is why it is important for you to have a team charter. What is a team charter? It's more like saying that it is the constitution that guides the team, or it is the acceptable behaviors that the team must follow or abide with. Like, for instance, no fighting. Team members must not fight. You must not steal company's materials, and all those little information, and everybody agrees by it. It becomes what refers to as what? A team charter. All right. Who creates the team charter? As a sound, the team, and everyone that is working on the project or that is going to work on the project agrees and approve the team charter. Not the project manager sits on his own and approve team charter. So everybody on the team comes together to approve the team charter. All right. So take note of that. And what are the items you can find in your team charter? The team agreement, the conflict resolution process. Oh, there's an issue. How do we go about it? Decision making process, the ground rules, the team values, and if there is going to be meeting, how do we go about it? So all the little guidelines, the acceptable behaviors, the constitution that guides the team on that particular project you are working on is refers to as what? The team charter. All right. It is also an output that comes with your plan resource management. Is that clear, please? Can I go on? Any question for me? All right. Lola, please, is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing I will talk about after we have successfully planned is to talk about estimate activity resources. Just like we estimate the duration of our activity, just like we estimated the cost of our activity, so also the concept of estimate activity resources. All right. So we estimate our activity, the resources we need for our activity based on the type and quantity of material, people, and equipment. So now every estimation of your resources, and remember that is why I mentioned earlier that the WBS is a great deal for you. Achieving the WBS and breaking the work package down to an activity solve lot of problems. So it becomes easy to estimate the number of resources you need to complete a particular activity in terms of the type and the quantity that you need. Example, Let's go back to our building project, for example, where we were talking about foundation laying. All right. So in that foundation work package, for example, we broke it down to say that yes, there are different other activities like clearing the land or performing excavation. All right. Then after clearing the land, we map the land for digging. After we have done the mapping, we dig. After digging, we go ahead to do the blinding and pour the concrete. Now, let's pick the first one, clearing of the land. What type of material do you need to clear the land? What type of persons or people do you need to clear the land? What kind of equipment do you think the people that will clear the land will need? So you can see that only clearing the land, you cannot estimate the number of people that will clear the land because of the time schedule you have for that activity. Okay, maybe you need to use 5 days to clear the land. That's okay, I will need 10 people. Who are the kind of people you need to clear the land? So you can see that people, equipment, materials, supplies, etc. will be based on type and quantity. So your estimation of your resources will be based on what? Types and quantity. So you are clearing the land. What materials do you need to clear the land? What about the people? What set or who are the kind of people, whether skilled or unskilled? What type of people do you need to clear the land? Or you want to use aboki to clear the land? Sorry to mention that. What kind of aboki do you want to use to clear the land? And what are the quantities? So you can see under people, you talk about type and you talk about quantity. Under equipment, oh well, I may not want to use aboki. Maybe I want to use bulldozer. What type of bulldozer do you want to use? And how many bulldozer, the quantity of bulldozer, for example. All right. So that is the estimate activity resources. Remember, it is still the same estimating technique that we have mentioned on under schedule and costing. It is the same estimating technique that we can use to estimate activity resources, which are um, analogous estimation techniques, parametric, 3-point, or bottom-up estimation. So whatever estimation technique you prefer to use, you can go ahead to use that. So the essence of this process is actually based on the effort of your WBS. So what do you want to achieve by estimating activity resources? You want to know the requirement of all the resources. So you cannot tell, oh, this activity, these are the resources and the basis of estimation. How did you come about that calculation? How did you come about the number of people you will need to clear the land and also the number of machineries you will need or materials you need? How did you come about that calculation? All right, so all the calculation the description or the detailed description of how you came about the calculation is what basis of estimate. A summation of all the estimation of your resources form resource requirement. A resource breakdown structure shows the breakdown of all the resources you will need in your project. So you can see the technique you can use. You can use expert judgment, analogous estimation, parametric, bottom-up estimation. You can even have a meeting to discuss with every of your team members. All right. So all these are the explanation. So you can see your resource breakdown structure, for example, human and non-human, skilled, unskilled, under non-human, material and equipment. So all these are the breakdown. All right. So that is what estimate activity resources. So if you look at that particular project, please do a detailed WBS. If you can achieve a detailed WBS, it becomes easy for you to do your resource. It becomes easy for you to do your costing. It becomes easy for you to do your scheduling and also become easy for you to do your risk. That is the essence behind your WBS. Alright? So take note of that. Then now you have successfully determined or identified the number and quantity, or the quantity of resources you need for your project. Alright, you have identified the quantity of resources you need for your project. And that quantity of resources you need, you have identified them. The next step is to go ahead to acquire those resources, either human or the material and physical resources. So you have successfully identified the resources. Now you actually need to acquire those resources. And this is where executing starts. This is an executing process. Now I have succeeded in planning and identifying all the resources I need. How do I get those resources? So acquiring resources is strictly based on how do you get your resources in? How do you get the materials you need? How do you get the people you have identified to come on board? That is what acquiring resources. Alright, so that is what acquiring resources. So note, team members need to be able to make input to the project. Alright, so resources can be acquired from outside the organization, external vendors, suppliers, contractors, etc. Alright, so that is it. It can be from external vendors, it can be from suppliers, it can be from outside the organization. So how do you go about acquiring resources? So acquiring resources comes in like, oh, okay, maybe I need to do an interview, send a JD advert, send a job advert. After I have defined and identified the JD, let me send an advert, interview people, and get the people on board. Oh, all right, maybe I need material resources. Let me get some suppliers, call them on board, check their authenticity, and sign them up to work with us for this project. That is different ways of what acquiring resources. All right, so it will be that you want to acquire the human resources or the physical resources you need for your project. And there are some basic ways resources are acquired in your project. The first way is what we refer to what pre-assigned resources. Pre-assigned resources. Please, what is the meaning of pre-assigned resources? Let me explain it this way. At the early stage of your project, probably within is a project that needs to be done in the organization you work. So at that early stage of discussing that project, you discuss with the project sponsor, and as you guys are discussing, oh, he told you that, oh, this is the idea we want to, this is the what we want to achieve, and to work with you in this project, I would like Peter, who is in the IT department, to work with you. I think he's good. And I also want Cosmos from the human resource department to work with you to provide you all the necessary information that you need. And also I also want I want also engineer in the engineering department. I want Kunle in the engineering department to work with you. Remember, at this point you have not started the project, but at this point it is this project sponsor that provides the resources. So that resources that has been provided by the project sponsor by himself, even when the project have not even started, we refer to them as pre-assigned resources. Is that clear, please? So pre-assigned resources are those resources provided or given to you to work with by the project sponsor, even when the project has not even started at all. They are what? Pre-assigned resources. And take note, because they are pre-assigned resources, you are not the one that what? Assign those resources. You are not the one that acquire those resources. So those resources were acquired by who? The project sponsor. Now, what do you do when a pre-assigned resources are given to you for a project? Please take note of this statement. The first thing you do before you start your project with any pre-assigned resources is to confirm their availability. Oh, you are working on a project and a physical resources were assigned to you that you are going to use the physical resources at the beginning of discussing the project. When it's not time, please confirm the availability of those resources. So this will refer to as what? Pre-assigned resources. Every pre-assigned resources must confirm the availability of those resources. Alright? Then to acquire resources, this is now the aspect where it is the project manager now that want to get those resources on board. What will he do? He negotiate for the best possible resources. Alright? Send out the job ad, get them on board, he hire new employees. Alright? So you see that he follows through the process of hiring them, bring them on board. Then when they are now on board, he knows if they are available. Alright, it goes through all the necessary process to bring them on board. Take note, when acquiring resources, you acquire them based on the type of team you want to build. You acquire the resources based on the type of team you want to build. What are those type of team? There's what we refer to as dedicated team, which simply refers to as a full-time team. Some of us used to say it in job ad. Alright, in job ad they will tell you the type of the team. Oh, I want full-time, we want part-time, we want virtual, and now the latest one is remote. Alright, which is also virtual anyway. So those are the type of team. So if you are acquiring resources, what type of those resources are you bringing on board? You can see the dedicated team. A dedicated team are those team members that will work full-time and exclusively on your project. They will not do any other work. All their energy will be expended on your project. And they constantly report directly to the project manager. Note, the dedicated team are commonly found in the projectized organization. But though they can also be found in a matrix organization, but mostly found where in a projectized organization. They are less likely to exist in a functional organization. Why? Because they are fully dedicated to the project. Alright? We call them dedicated team members. Then we have the part-time team members. The part-time team members are those team members that spend a portion of their time, working on the project, while they also carry out other projects or non-related project activities. They are referred to as what? Part-time team members. Alright, they are there, they spend a portion of their time on your project while they have the time to work on other project or non-related project activity. A part-time team member is often found more often in a functional organization. You see them more often in what? A functional organization. Then we have the partnership team. A partnership team is when two different teams from two different organizations come together to work together. Alright, so two different organizations come together to work together to take advantage of their skills, take advantage of their knowledge to achieve a particular project. That is what partnership team. When two different teams from two different organizations come together, work together in a particular project in partnership to be able to achieve that result. We call them partnership team. Then we also have the last one, which is the virtual team or remote team. All right. So this happens when you have multiple organizations or office that are involved in projects that have geographical distance from the organization. In this kind of case, you create a virtual team. All right. There are instances where people from Nigeria can work with a team of experts in Kenya or in US. Why? Because the team they build is what the virtual team. So when you are acquiring resources, you must know the type of resources you are bringing on board. What type of team do you want to put in place? Is it the dedicated team, the part-time team, the partnership team, and the virtual team? Is that clear, please? But take note, all right? When we say the concept of the virtual team is that the team members will not meet face to face, all right? So the virtual team rely more on technology, all right? But take note, the major challenges of a virtual team, all right, for management purpose, that is to say, from the project manager perspective, the 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 challenges you will face is communication issues. All right, that is one. Difference in schedule, because your time zone and the time zone of your team members may not be the same. Then also language and cultural issues. So please take note of those challenges so that when you are facing or trying to have a virtual team instead of a dedicated team, you must put in place how you intend to mitigate those challenges, which are either language challenges or cultural challenges or difference in time schedule and also communication issues. Take note of those three, those four. Yes, go on, please. Any question? All right, please. All right. Um, Technically, it doesn't affect the deliverable to a large extent. All right. The only way it affects the deliverable, if not properly managed, is the deliverable schedule time. In my own case, for example, I have I manage both international and local team. All right, my local team, some of them are scattered around Nigeria. Then my international team, I have more of Chinese. All right. So now, at this by 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, the Chinese team are in their day time. But my 2 o'clock or my own 12 o'clock, they're already at night time. All right. So what do I do in such case? Is that now there is schedule difference in time zone, there's language barrier, we communicate in English, we can't do a video call because you will not understand English, you have to keep writing. If you want to explain how a process will flow in your application, you have to explain it in writing and show diagram for them to understand. That is an extra effort. But the only way the virtual team affect is what the deliverable time. All right. yes, if you are very skilled in being able to manage those communication gaps, and probably there is a translator or a device that translates whatever you type for them to understand, then the only other thing that will affect is what? The deliverable time. So a virtual team, if not well managed, it will most often affect the deliverable time. All right, because that is a challenge that we have to face as a project manager, because you see somebody who is working on a very critical aspect of your project, and I spend more of my time discussing and explaining and expatiating. Be careful with my English so that they can easily understand it. Use simple grammar that even make it seem like just to explain moving from point A to B. I will look for illustration. All right, look for a graphical. That one has even made me to be more graphical in my explanation. Do you get it now? Why? Because I want to achieve deliverable time. But if I do normal process, I may not achieve that deliverable time. All right. So acquire resources. You can see on the screen the techniques that can be used: pre-assigned resources. All right. Oh, you can also see virtual team can come on board. All right, you can decide on the type and the kind of team you want to bring on board, and your interpersonal skills needed, especially in the case where you are hiring a new set of team. You are going to negotiate, you are going to discuss, you are going to interview them, you're going to be able to sense their personality and their impact and the impact they will bring on your project. So you see that your interpersonal and team skills management will be needed when you are acquiring resources. All right. What type of resources are you planning to acquire? It can be physical resources, which is the material and machinery. It can be project team assignment, which are the people you are bringing on board. Then you can also see resource calendar. I've told you what resource calendar is. It shows the availability of your resources, or either physical resources or human resources. And you discover that, oh, excuse me, sir, why do we have change request here? Change request is here because there is possibility of changing whatever resources that you have or acquired. All right. So that is that about acquired thing. So all these are the explanation. It's just for you to read through and understand it. Now, now you have acquired the thing and they have started working on the project. The next process is develop project team. In the context or this concept behind develop project team is asking you, the project manager, what will you do to improve the competence of your team? All right, let's do a practical session. Yes, Lola. Hello, Lola, are you there? Hello, Lola, can you? Yes, all right. In your team, all right, when you let's go back to that discussion on having a office facelift, or no, an apartment facelift. All right, in your team in such kind of projects, let's assume you have 5 team members. What will you do to improve their competencies? What will you do to make them better? Or let's tell us what do you often do to make them better? Let's discuss it. Okay. All right. In your own case, you do more of pet talk and motivation. All right. Any other person with different? How have you been developing your team, improving their competency? Yes, Mr. Kadiri. Yes, let me hear from you. I know you work with some set of people. How do you develop them? How do you make them better? What do you do to make them better? All right. All right, that's okay. So the concept of develop project team is actually that aspect in project management that is a must for you to think of ways to improve the competencies, team building activities and interaction, enhancing the performance of your team members. Remember, I did not mention individual. So developing team project team is that aspect in your project where you, the project manager, make conscious effort to think of ways on how to improve the competencies and performance of the team in terms of delivery, in terms of quality of work, in terms of understanding, um, job training. They all refers to as what? Developing your project team. The essence or the reason why this is important for you as a project manager is that you are likely to improve teamwork. And when you improve teamwork, the team members focus more on working together as a team, not as an individual. So, which means because they are working as a team, the project is more important than an individual. If they are not working as a team, it now becomes the individual is more important than the project. So develop project team in a simple explanation is what will the project manager do to ensure that he improves the daily competencies, the daily performance, the daily interaction that occurs within the team. Because if you now, there's no way we can talk about improving competence, improving performance without talking about interaction. Please take note of this. If there is no proper interaction in the team, therefore competence and team performance will suffer. So develop project team is a conscious effort made by the project manager to ensure that he is able to improve interaction in the team, which will now lead to the improvement of competencies and what? Performance. All right? Please take note. And this also have a way of reducing staff turnover. If you are developing your team very well, none of them will want to go. They want to work with you. So developing your team is more like saying maturing your team. Maturing your team. Improving these individual skills, knowledge, so that they can work together as a team. That is the concept behind develop project team. Now, what can we do to develop a project team? Or in a practical sense, what are we going to be doing when it comes to develop project team? What is expected from you as the project manager in developing project team is that number one, take note. All right, you are making use of your soft skills. You are making use of your soft skills to provide mentoring, leadership, negotiations, emotional intelligence, and communication to be able to encourage teamwork. It is very key. Encourage teamwork. Strengthen team members. And this can be done through the simple concept we refer to as what? Team building. Team building. Team building. Alright, so developing project team can be simply achieved with a concept of what? Team building activities. And examples of those team building activities are taking training classes together as a team, attending milestone party together as a team, even birthday and holiday party celebration, going out for outside off work trip together, creating WBS together, and getting everyone involved in your planning. What are you doing? You are doing team building. Now, you remember all those aspects we have discussed about, where you notice that I mentioned that involve your team. Oh, you are defining an activity, involve your team. That involving of your team, what are you doing? Because you are bringing them to, you are carrying out what? Team building activities. And that is the secret of what? Develop project team. Alright? Because in doing that, you are providing them knowledge, they will be motivated, the team performance will improve, and you will even see that probably the necessary recognition will take place without sweating. Alright, please take note. Team building activity is key. And what is team building activities? Or what is the essence of the team building activities? The team building activity, as we have discussed, must start early in the life of the project. It must start early in the life of the project. So what is the essence of the team building activity? It helps form the project team. It helps to form the project team into a cohesive group working for the best interest of the project. It helps form the project team into a cohesive group working for the best interest of the project to enhance performance. Alright, please take note of that. So any of activities you do that will bring your team together to interact more, to function more, to discuss more, to look at solve problem together more, they are all referred to as team building activity. Apart from going for training, attending parties together, having a workshop together, they are all team building activities. And that takes us to Bruce Tuckman's stage of team development. Bruce Tuckman gave us some different stages of team development. And what Bruce Tuckman gave us 5 stages. And according to Bruce Tuckman, he made us to understand that every team develop by going through these 5 stages. And the first stage is the forming stage. What is the concept of the forming stage? The concept of the forming stage is simply the stage in which the team members get to meet themselves and learn about their formal roles and responsibility that you have set or identified for them. That becomes what? The forming stage. They meet each other, they get to know the roles and responsibility at that beginning stage of the project. You can still remember the first day you walk into that office and they introduce you around. You are just smiling, you are just forming, maintaining yourself. You don't want to show your color yet. What are you doing? That is the forming stage. You are getting to meet people. You are getting to know about the task they want you to do. You are getting to understand your roles and responsibility as it relates to that project. That is the forming stage. Then a time comes in that project where you have spent some days to familiarize with the roles and responsibility, and you are now discussing your opinion, and somebody come up and tell you that no, I don't think that can fly, and you said no, that is the latest activity or latest trend. But you say no, I have 15 years experience from what I have been doing. This is what I have always been doing. What happened at this stage? There becomes disagreement. So the storming stage is the disagreement stage that occur when people begin to learn to work together. That disagreement, because of probably the difference in idea, the technical perspective of all your team members, it brings about that disagreement. So the person that have 15 years experience is telling you that, oh, from my 15 years experience, this has been the way. While the new person that is PMP certified is coming on board to tell you that no, this is what is a global standard. Why? Technical differences in opinions and in perspective, in ideas, can bring about what? Storming stage. They begin to disagree. Then after a while, we now have a norming phase. And that phase is the phase where the team member begin to build good working relationship. Things they have understood their differences, and they decide to put their difference apart and focus on the project. So the norming stage, the team members begin to work together, adjust their habits and behaviors to support the team. That becomes the norming stage. Then after the norming stage, it takes us to the performing stage, where the team members becomes more efficient and work effectively together. This is the stage where the team become well organized and they are interdependent, work through issues smoothly and efficiently and effectively. They work together with effortlessly. That is the stage whereby you see a team member being able to cover up for the other team member. Why? Because they build to the extent whereby they perform the activities together. They are well organized. Then the last stage is the adjoining stage, where they have completed their task and they move out of the project to other projects at hand. So for the purpose of exam, please take note of this order. 1, the forming stage, the forming stage, the storming stage, the norming stage, the performing stage, and the adjoining stage in the order. So develop project team, what do we want to achieve? You can see that what we want to achieve is actually the team performance. That is what we want to achieve. We want our team members to perform very well. What are the different tools and techniques we can use? We can still use the virtual team. We can use the different communication technology. You can still use your interpersonal skills. You can use training. You can train them. You can do co-location. You can do reward and recognition. You can do meeting. Now, what is co-location? Co-location, as it sounds, is that technique, all right, that a project manager use to arrange the entire team members from each city to work together in one office. It becomes what? A co-location. Take note, for the purpose of exam, co-location is also referred to as what? Tight matrix. Alright? So what is co-location again? A co-location is, for instance, all the project managers, all the people working on the project in different departments, you bring all of them together to an open office. Everybody have their desks in an open office. That becomes a co-location. In just like, it's more like the opposite of virtual team, where you have different people living in different geographical location and they are working in the project. But for the concept of co-location, they are all together in one office, like a war room. And what is the essence of a co-location? Is to help improve communication. That's number one. Number two, it decreases the impact of conflict. So in a co-location, it is easy to improve communication. The person on that desk A, you don't need to start going downstairs to speak to you. You can just call your name directly. Hey, Williams, please, this is the challenge I'm facing. What do you think I can do? The person tell you what to do without moving from your seat. It improves communication. It decreases the impact of conflict. Alright, so take note, that is the concept of what? Co-location. Alright, so when you co-locate a team, what you are indirectly saying is that you have a central location for project coordination of all your team members. All of you are in just one location and you are coordinating everybody from one location. Alright, so these are barriers to project team development. Okay, the first one on top, what can make your team not to develop? That's the first one on top. And the one under is your team building activities. All right, leap of faith. You play game together, you go for camping together, you do indoor activities together, you go for family outing. Maybe one member of a family, one person is doing 50th birthday, everybody in the team grace the occasion. You have your training together, you do several other discussion and chatting together. These are team building activities. But what can make your team not to build or develop is when there's conflict in roles. Team member A is performing the same task with team member B. They don't know what to do. It becomes a problem. It brings about low development of your team. Oh, when there is no clear objective, the project objective, what we want to achieve on the project is not clear. What is our vision? What do we want to achieve is not clear. It can bring about barrier to the project team growing up. All right. Then lack of team structure. All these are little issues. All right. Even credibility or trust issue from the project manager. If the project manager lack credibility, it can bring about barrier to project team development. Everybody mind their business. Poor communication, it brings about barrier. All right. So all these are little information for your own consumption. Is that clear, please? Any question for me on develop is clear. All right. So the next process after developing your team is to talk about managing your project team. Now, when we now say managing your project team, is now actually focusing on the aspect whereby when we have issues, how do you resolve those issues? Because the resources you have, or because you are dealing with people, technically you are going to have issues. How do you resolve those issues that you will have in your project? That is why we need to talk about manage project team. How do you manage the team that you are building? You have acquired them, they are performing the task, and now you are doing several team building activities. Then how do you now manage those project team? Manage project team or managing your team is the process of tracking your team members' performance. Developing team is focused on the team as a whole. But in this case of managing your team, is not individualistic concept. The team members himself is who you are managing now. So everybody in your team, you are tracking their performance. You are providing feedback to everyone in your team. You are resolving issues as they arise on the team, and also managing changes to optimize project performance. Alright, that is what manage project team. So the concept of managing your project team is defined on how you, the project manager, you are able to resolve conflicts and ensure that the individual team members are delivering according to plan. That is what manage project team. Now, if you look at the two different, one is develop project team, which focus on the team development. Manage project team focus more not on the team development now, but rather it focus more on the individual team members. All right. So, what is the key benefit of managing project team? It influences team behaviors, manages conflicts, resolve issues, and appraise team members' performance. Please take notes. And when is there possibilities that there will be issues in your project because you are dealing with people from different background, different technical knowledge? Yes. And how do you manage those people? So it's possible there will be issues, as you can see. It is possible to be non-conducive behavior. Some people will let you know that they are not happy. Some people will be dissatisfied. Some people, there will be conflict between team members, misunderstanding of roles and responsibilities, lack of motivation, and sleeping performance. All right, these are possible issues that can occur because you are dealing with people. All right, now what do you do when all these issues occur? Please, clear communication is key. In the concept of misunderstanding, why is the person not understanding? Because there is what? No clear communication. Regular motivation is needed. Just like Lola said, she gives pet talk. That pet talk may go a long way to motivate the team to give their best. That pet talk may go a long way for me to drop my own ideas and relearn a new idea. Okay. All right. So that becomes very important. All right, as it relates to our discussion. Then regular feedback on team performance. You must assess your team performance regularly. You must check the members. Okay, what are they doing? Timely resolution of conflict. Don't allow any conflict to take more than 24 hours. Internal conflict within two team members. Don't allow it. So all these issues that are here, you can see them in the red, and what you should do as the project manager, you can see them in the green. There must be clear communication. There must be regular feedback on performance, which means, for instance, now a team member is performing a task. There must be regular feedback on checking and getting to know what that person has done and review it, regular motivation, and timely resolution of conflicts. All right, please take note. Now, in managing team members, the most important skill the project manager will use is the conflict management skills. So the conflict management skills is one of those interpersonal and team skills that the project manager needs to be able to manage team, the project team. All right. And when we talk of conflict, Conflicts are inevitable in a project. We can't run away from conflict, but we can only reduce conflict. And the secret of reducing conflict, please see it here. Not that we can totally eradicate conflict in our project, but the secret for you to totally reduce conflict in your project is on your team charter. That is the secret. Why is it a secret? If everybody agrees to follow the values, norms, and standards set and agreed upon by everyone in the team, it's most likely that everybody that agrees to that values, norms will work in accordance with that value and norms. That is what the concept of the team charter. So take note, the team charter is very key. Alright, please take note. The team charter is very key in ensuring that the risk or the conflict in your project reduce to the barest minimum. Because technically you can't avoid conflict, they will definitely occur. That is why you must manage those conflicts. And what are the different sources of conflict in a project? Please note them in this hierarchy. The first major source of conflict in a project is schedule, followed by project priorities, resources, technical opinion, administrative procedure, cost, and personality is the last. Alright, please take note. Excuse me, sir, is it all conflicts that are bad? No. They are, which means conflict can be positive or negative effects. So which means we can have a very good conflict and we can have a very bad conflict. Example of a very good conflict is the conflict that result to getting a better knowledge. Oh, two team members started arguing on the process of deliverable, and from the discussion you now discover that, oh, we can actually adopt this style and implement it. So for them to have had that conflict has brought to a knowledge sharing. So take note, not all conflicts are totally bad. So there are some conflicts that improve the team performance. There are some conflicts that improve the deliverable output in the project. So technically, not all conflicts are bad. Why some conflicts that often result, or which we refer to as bad conflicts, are those conflicts that affect the productivity of our project. Okay, so refer to them as bad conflict because of the negative impact they are having on our project. All right, so now we're going to look at how do we resolve conflicts. What are the conflict resolution techniques that we must have in our project? The conflict resolution technique. So you can see on the screen that we have 5 conflict resolution techniques. The collaboration, which is the problem solving, compromise.